And we are in countdown mode to the partial lunar eclipse. I'm Alex Ansary coming to you on this evening of, it is July 15th, 2019. So I've looked at a couple of videos regarding the general effect of the eclipse on us in general, massive personal change. Other similar themes you can take a look at on your own. Some of us can feel it. Some of us are more sensitive than others. I should be doing much more meditation, but I am in a deeply focused and contemplative, introspective state of consciousness. Very, very much. A lot of that has been really peaking out for me lately. And it's like there's been peaks and then, it'll relax a little bit, that'll peak up a little bit more. So we've had a variety of eclipses from the solar to the lunar. Similar general themes is that we're going to see the effects of this eclipse the next 6 months, for example. Another thing that I heard, and then I'm going to start reading this article, is that this full moon period that we're in with this eclipse somehow completes a 13-year cycle. I was noticing earlier in another video the synchronicity with YouTube starting in 2006. And while we're still using YouTube, it seems to be the end of a cycle on one element that we can almost measure. And there are cycles and synchronicities that we can see that I think have meaning in our world, especially when they relate to the movement of celestial bodies, solar cycles, and things that are aligned with that. Okay, so this is also in relation to solar activity, the effects of the eclipses on us. As far as solar eclipses, I remember where we were at, and some things coming to completion around August or September. And I've looked at a variety of perspectives as well as astrology. Some things are right on. Some things don't apply at all. But what I definitely can say is that in the last couple of weeks, I've taken a really strong interest in the topic, in taking in information. I've noticed that others are as well. So that's going to be an introduction, right? As we read this article about animals responding to the eclipses, we're thinking about how we're responding to the eclipse. You know what I mean? Like, where are we going to be in a few months? Where's the world going to be in a few months or a few years with these power outages, with these geopolitical tensions? So let's start reading. This is from earthsky.org. It was just posted. How do solar and lunar eclipses influence animal behavior? While the human world gathers to see tonight's lunar eclipse, what's the rest of nature doing? Okay, this is some sort of a picture taken from Chile, July 2nd, 2019. And it looks like they gathered in the desert. One thing that I'll mention right away. So there are different perspectives on whether or not people should even be out under the eclipse. There may be some spiritual beliefs that one may want to avoid the eclipse and not necessarily have a party under it. So just a thought. I remember this from a couple years ago. And as we look at this even further, for most animals, the structure of their day, and indeed their year, depends on the light-dark cycle. These regular and rhythmic cycles in the length of days tells animals when they should be foraging, when they should be asleep, when it's time to migrate, and when it's time to breed. Animals can tell us all this from how many hours of daylight they experience, but the moon cycles also strongly influence their behavior. So pausing there for a minute, some of the content that I recently produced on this channel, related to humans responding to the changes in the temperatures, and in some cases, having psychological disorders. I also clarified that there could be spiritual breakthroughs and things of that nature that are difficult to, for example, quantify, Like, how do you document something like that? Like a study on people that have spiritual breakthroughs. But obviously, for obvious reasons, there's going to be statistics regarding crime and accidents. And so there can be an increase in accidents, even things that lead to transformer fires and the human error potential. It could still be directly tied to the solar flare influence of the solar flares, the geomagnetic storm, rather, of the days prior to the recent transformer fire, which caused a blackout in part of Manhattan. It's not a big deal. People were fine. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's that, are these the type of cascade of electric failures that we've been warned about, that we've been concerned about? Going back to our report about animals responding to light changes, just like humans. The lunar cycle, the moon's regular journey from full moon to full moon again over 28 nights, causes changes in the Earth's magnetic field, the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth, and light levels at night. Okay, so we're dealing with changes in melatonin. I have difficulty sleeping when there's a full moon. And where I live, which is above 7,000 feet in the state of Colorado, right? And I'm from sea level. I'm from Portland. So, I'm more sensitive to maybe the changes in the sun on a level, or at least the moon from here. I could see how Portland could also be, because it's closer to the zero contour lines, can also enhance sensitivity. But right here, animals being influenced with regards to time to breed, right? On a subtle level, humans are influenced by some of these things without even knowing it. And so I think that there are cycles regarding human behavior, times at which humans are hooking up. I'm not trying to get too detailed along those lines, but I've given it some thought that there are even cycles to when humans are interested in each other and times in which they're not. And no one really knowing why. Politics might seem to be one of the causes. Technology might seem to be one of the causes of it. There's actually other subtle causes, even deep solar minimums. Okay. Mass spawnings in corals sees tens of millions of eggs released at once on reefs to coincide with full or new moons. But what happens to animals when the moon or the sun does something unusual or unexpected, such as an eclipse? Of all the cosmic events, okay, we're going to start with solar eclipses, which we just came out of. And it looks like they have some information on the lunar cycle. Okay, because I scrolled down there, let's start there now. For centuries, people have been fascinated about the relationship between human behavior and the lunar cycle. Many folklores and fables were connected to our interactions with the moon, the most extreme example perhaps being that of mythical beasts such as werewolves. It isn't too surprising then that previously the term lunatic, from the Latin lunaticus, meaning of the moon, was used to describe people deemed to be mentally ill, crazy, or unpredictable, until 1930, when more appropriate and sensitive terms were introduced. But looking for some more specific information regarding the lunar eclipse, if you go online, if you go on YouTube, you'll find a lot of opinions. And I'm still listening to a variety of podcasts. We do know that it signifies great change, and that we're looking at a series of eclipses here, magnified by recent geomagnetic storms. Reading from the section on solar eclipses, prompt perhaps the biggest change in animal behavior. By the way, I was told by someone at some point about 2 years ago that they saw a mountain lion jump out in front of their vehicle while they're driving to work. Really strange animal behavior, suicidal animal behavior. Gee, we've been talking a lot about suicidal rates lately, and just trying to inform people that if people are aware that when there are certain changes in the sun and there are certain changes in the field, a certain amount of the population goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, can having this advanced knowledge help people in the mental health field? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. A solar eclipse occurs when the sun, moon, and earth are aligned on the same axis so that the moon completely blocks the sun. Around the world, unusual incidents of behavior are usually reported while everyone else is watching the eclipse. And there were some threats made towards Portland City Hall in the hours ramping up to the eclipse on July 2nd. Well, things got quiet until the 15th, until today, and they emptied the building out again. That's pretty odd. Okay, I just want to make sure that you're hearing me and that you got this. They had something go down in Portland in response to the allegations that are going around on the mass media about the mayor of Portland taking certain levels of unrest to the next level. People are upset, rightfully so, but I can see periods in which things ramp up around eclipses, is the point that I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter what the story is, so we can look at one story or the other. Like, it's not about getting emotionally involved here. Do you understand? This is where you tuning in to this specific channel, you get a take on the nature of our reality like no one is chronicling, is detailing, is narrating. We're going through some amazing changes where we can see the combination of events. So I'm looking at a combination of threats made, people getting really emotional regarding how they feel about the government in the city of Portland. And things were so emotional. Are you ready for this? We don't have a bunch of news, but we know that people were emotional. And so this was taken out on 9/11 dispatch operators in Portland because of the coverage. The anger was taken out at 9/11 dispatch officers. It was all viewed as in the whole city of Portland was in on the conspiracy, when there's a lot of people that have nothing to do with those protests at all. And so it's a microcosm example without getting too heated or emotional and doing the whole I told you so tap dance, which I could. All decked out in some sort of clown outfit with charts and graphics and showing clips of old videos. You know what? I want to have an ego death beyond where I was and where I'm going. For those that have never heard that term, it's just relating to also this cycle, going from who we were to who we're becoming. And I want to be freer on the inside spiritually. I want to go to the next level in this cycle spiritually. I want to learn something new as the veil thins in this cycle and have the next realization. And right now it's like the quiet before that epiphany. You know, there are some people that have been around for a cycle. And there may be others that have never come across this content. And as we go from one cycle to the other, they're finding OTBTV for the first time. And it's not by accident that there would be a synchronicity of them finding my YouTube channel during key periods during the solar and lunar eclipses, a recent synchronicity of a radio show that took place in late June of 2019 that at least helped me get the word out or the idea out. It may not have been really well received or understood by the world, but at least I want the world to hear it. Because as I see these events take place, not just power outages, not just wars, but, people having meltdowns in the streets, to be frank. And I see these videos, and a lot of them relate to, like right now, I'm seeing a lot of videos that are about some of the horrible things that some parents have done to their kids, other violent crimes. We're going to read some more information here. And to me, there's a direct correlation. Who wouldn't be frustrated if somebody was sitting on a mounting body of evidence? Who wouldn't be frustrated if they were trying to share this with people in the field, various fields, and people around the world? And so, here we are. We're looking at studies about how animals respond. Like, in a way, many humans act like animals. Not to insult anyone, nor the animals, but just to be real about it. I mean, we are in physical form. We do have certain impulses. And so the reality is we still have that level of animalism. And I think that it is important to come to terms with that and not let our senses run amok. There's a reason why monks live a certain way. No. They're not putting themselves in some sort of acronym of MG, da da da. No. Like monks, and nuns and people that live for thousands of years, and others away from mainstream society as they cultivated their own spiritual views. It's in our history. Those that, not by accident lived away from mainstream society to protect their consciousness. Just like I could tell that story about being in detention at the age of 12, picking up a big old dictionary, opening up just a random page, putting my index finger at a random part of the page and reading the word out loud to myself and recording it, the insusceptible. Look it up for yourself. Not able to be easily influenced. I'm literally looking for the name of a superhero during a time in which I'm growing up and I'm looking for hope in a world that's looking very dangerous and threatening. The year was 1992. The LA riots were on television. I was in my last year living on the farm. Didn't mean to go into a whole life story diatribe, but I'll reel it back. If you want more, go to outsidethebox.vhx.tv, become a member. I'm getting into stuff there. But I'm glad at least that I had the space as a younger child, that I was able to come across some of the ideas that I did. This would include later on in life, and I don't think that the things that we experience and come across the information, I don't think it's by accident. I think that there is a deeper design behind why the things happen. And so that's a really important point as we bring it back to our information here and where we are with all this. What we're going through right now, what you might be going through right now as you review your whole life, is, I'm just being really simple, the effects of the eclipse. To get really specific, you can start doing some research along those lines. And so, we live in a world in 2019, all right, keep this short, sweet, to the point, where the best of the best, the people that are in all these fields in the modern day and age, they're not incorporating this into their reality. They're drugging some of these people. And so some of you guys are seeing people in the urban city, for example, freaking out, screaming in some cases, right? And you wonder what's going on with some of these people. Well, there's been mismanagement of the mental health care also for some time. How many of those people have been misdiagnosed and drugged up? How many people are flipping out for the very first time and committing acts of crime when there are certain changes taking place? As mentioned earlier, there could be a spiritual experience, however, that people may not be all. There could be a spiritual experience that is not being documented. You could be having a spiritual experience. You could be healing emotionally right now, tonight. There could be parts of you healing tonight into tomorrow. I talk about the 16th and the 17th. So I'm going to upload this for you tonight on the 15th. And as we feel these changes, maybe you have, a few hours to contemplate some of these things. It's important to know when we go through these major energy changes to not get too sucked up into what's on the news wire. Instead, I would step back, go into observer mode, look at the news wire like we were in a recent video, and then ask yourself, is this scripted? And take yourself out of the position of left or right. Maybe it's scripted from a perspective or angle that you're not even thinking about. And ultimately, that's how I see much of our world. I see a lot of it scripted. I see a lot of events staged in our world as the human animal is manipulated in this world because they know how to push our buttons. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You beautiful, cute little owl monkey. They do. They know how to manipulate the human species. It's like, it's like they got a room somewhere with supercomputers, full monitor screens. We talked about this in another video. Check out how the archons of the shadow government use the solar cycles to control humanity. And we go over it for about 40 minutes. But let's go back to this. So around 3 times a year, a supermoon occurs, which is when a full moon coincides with a perigee, perigee, the point at which the moon is closest to the Earth. During a supermoon, light levels at night are around 30% brighter than at any point in the moon's monthly cycle, and it appears much larger in the sky. One recent study found that a certain type of wild geese responded to these supermoon events while they overwinter in southwest Scotland. They found that their heart rate and body temperature increased at night during supermoons, when typically at this time of day they would be subdued. The birds didn't respond to supermoon events when the moon was hidden by heavy cloud. Interesting. We can take a look at some of these details and figure out how might this apply in the human world with regards to geoengineering, with regards to other things that we know about, other things that we don't know about. So when the moon was hidden by heavy cloud, the birds did not respond to supermoon events. When people ask for good reason, are there certain things going on to block the rays? Maybe not just the rays of the sun. Maybe we need to be taking in the rays of the moon as well. Now, I don't believe that we should be because of our genders, associating too much with just sun or moon. I think there's a balance there that we need to maintain. As men, we need to be tapped into our feminine side. There needs to be balance between the left and right brain. Women also, they have their own balancing to do. And so that's why I come and I present knowledge about the sun that I do believe that it applies to them. This applies to everybody. Some of the other videos that I have about the sun. And so there could be people that in recent years were asking themselves, and I was noticing an uptick on Twitter, people were going, hey, what's going on with the solar flares? Is this where my migraines are coming from? And a lot of women are asking those questions. And I think that when the solar cycle starts up, people get excited. People get warmed up. When the sun gets hot, people get hot. More ways than one. Energy expresses itself, So as the solar cycle wakes up, so do people and human activity in a number of different ways. So that's what I've noticed. And so in the next couple of years, we're going to be coming out of this solar minimum and things are going to become active again. With regards to contemplation about the eclipse influence. So when we were having the total solar eclipse, I could feel definitely some sort of a paranormal effect. I don't want to get too deep into that, but definitely felt some odd energy. And I think I witnessed it in some people and on the internet around the last eclipse, 2017. This one, the energy was lighter. I felt more of the clearing. I felt a lightness. Now, a lot of us have, similar issues, financial concerns. The world is in a very similar place. We are not alone. I'm not going to start singing "We Are Not Alone," but it's like one of those type of, Kodak moments. We are not alone. And so the internet is really interesting in that, I could be watching videos out there, so can you, and they could be pulling tarot cards that pretty much apply to everybody. And I'm a little bit more open to that now. I'm seeing certain things that they are kind of getting into and that others have gotten into that I find in some ways seem to be really, really accurate. Astrology seems to be really, really accurate, but it's also viewed with a fair amount of suspicion. It's the idea of being under the influence of the archons or the planets that a lot of us want to be free of. So some of us, maybe for a specific reason, we don't gravitate to the 12, this division 12 for some reason. Some of us, it's different. For me, it's the sun and perhaps some other things, but I don't get too off into other certain fringe things that other people might find to be really popular. That if I were to talk about certain things, certain theories, this channel would be really popular. My soul is not drawn to that. I know now that it's not by accident that I started talking about the sun over 10 years ago, and we're seeing these major world events, power outages. And it's not by accident that we're doing this video tonight. So I am here to plant seeds of consciousness, while others, for good reason, are planting actual gardens and building communities. I'm planting seeds of consciousness so we can get some of those things done, because there's been a great attack on human consciousness in recent years. And so in some cases, we need to replant seeds of consciousness in this new cycle moving forward. Let's read some additional information. So this came from Earth Sky Hippopotamus in Zimbabwe were observed leaving their rivers during an eclipse and heading towards their feeding grounds on dry land. Midway through their departure, the eclipse passed, daylight returned, and the hippos aborted their efforts. The animals appeared agitated and stressed following the eclipse for the remainder of the day. And that is an appropriate segue. So here in the human world, we're taught that we're not connected to these things. So there could be agitation, irritation, without people like realizing, oh, it could be a solar influence. Oh, it could be a lunar influence. Oh, calm down, take a deep breath. Have you tried some meditation? Have you tried listening to, some tones to listen to tap into your body's energy centers? Is there a pamphlet out there during solar flares for, say, a psychiatric institute to help calm people down? Or are we still living in the day and age of modern medicine and things of that nature? Because it sells, because of ignorance. And so there has to have or be within society, mainstream society, an evolutionary leap forward with regards to the understanding, the causal factors. That's why we're having this conversation. That's why this channel is covering this information, because we are not, let's go back up, we are not divided from the rest of the quote-unquote animal kingdom. Now, when that statement is made about humans as animals, what is that saying? And is there something spiritual about that? And is there also something illuminating about that on another level? Illuminating, like things that make you go, Because not all of animal life is expressing itself to be meditating in a lotus position, like something out of a cartoon. There is, use my words carefully, just like I say, we have these social ills in our world, and there are these horrible injustices that humans do to each other. It doesn't make it right. But in this world, we see what animals do to each other. And it's atrocious in some cases. It's done on a different scale. Now, I don't want to get too deep in this. Let me just make this point, though, and bring it back to this. How different are we really? We really are a collective hive of animals, very conscious animals, but connected through these technological mediums, in which the animalistic behaviors can be, in a way, encouraged. Some of that was on a collective level. There's elements of animalism that are positive, things that I would regard of relating to family, maternal, protecting, love, compassion, empathy, certain attributes of maybe a more advanced consciousness. And I don't even see all animals as the same. I don't look at all dogs as being the same. I don't look at all cats as being the same. Okay, so this is getting a little bit more opinionated, but let me just say this and move on. I don't know that we should be judging any animal, human, certainly not ethnicity, as good or bad. Everybody's different. But there may be reasons why certain souls in human form vibe with certain souls in certain animal forms. So a certain soul, oh, we're free flowing now. A certain soul can have a connection with a certain animal that's in a particular form. It could be in a bird form or a dog form. It could be a cow. It could be a cat. It could be a pigeon. It could be a squirrel at the park. Some urban humans have real relationships with friendships. They may bring them some food or communicate. Look over at my cat behind my chair, my black cat. Black cat has been a wonderful introduction into my life. But we have these situations where humans that live in cities have connections with nature around them. And there's this type of coexistence. I remember even seeing in a small Colorado town hours away how there were dogs walking freely, how it was considered to be normal for them to not be leashed up, and they were not unnecessarily in the road. They may have been in the road once in a while, but they knew to let cars pass. They were like, the watchers. So when we talk about strange behaviors, it's not all behaviors that we would consider to be scary. There may be an unusual behavior exhibited that shows higher than average consciousness. There could be, for you, for example, a deep spiritual epiphany or a miracle. It's also said that this is the time for manifestation. Now, I don't get deep into any claims that I know anything about that stuff. I have struggled, and I feel like this world has kicked my ass. Now, can you hear me now? Okay? We are not trying to claim that certain types of things guarantee certain types of things. I've been skeptical of the claims of others. At the same time, I want to see some positive change in my life because we are affected by these changes in the heavens, as above, so below. I would even say, though, even further, as below, so above, that there's an even deeper connection to the interconnectedness epiphany than even I'm currently able to articulate. I've put it in the universe's hands whether or not I'm meant to travel around the United States in the coming days, weeks, months. And it would need to be in that period, before winter, 2019, 2020. As we cross into 2020, we start seeing manufactured chaos in the United States. I'm an independent. I'm a real independent, not a bullshit independent. I'm a true independent. When I talk about the left-right paradigm, I talk about the left-right paradigm, and I don't have a dog in the race. So when I talk about manufactured chaos, I mean on both sides. And I see corruption on both sides. And so I recommend to my listeners, to stay out of the trap of whatever they're going to present. Because even if you have strong passions about certain things in current events, I know I do. I also know that the media capitalizes on stories, and now even more so with some of us being taken out of the game. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Making it, really unpopular to talk about current events, the names of certain countries, anything regarding war, controversial. Just don't talk about it. Let the mainstream media cover it. Let them have the hit. Whoa, that's coordination. That's a coordinated Orwellian. That's like a ninja Dimmock censorship palm strike. You got to watch out for that. Someone's wearing like a ninja hand claw there. Ow. So we're like in a new dark ages of Orwellian censorship. Yeah. Animals doing strange things. Humans are doing strange things. Naturally because of the changes, but we are now in the age of the 5G. We are now in the age of the intense cosmic ray bombardment. We are now in the day and age of more homeless people. And some of them, there's no solution inside as the economy gets worse. And so the screaming on the streets in some cases gets louder and louder and louder. And all the people really want to know from council members across the United States is how are you, not how they're going to help these people, how are they going to get those people just simply away from their house? But not a deeper understanding of what would they do in that situation. And for people that are losing their jobs in the modern musical chairs way of life in corporate America today, from those that are at the low end minimum wage to those that literally work in the high rises, right? It isn't when is the world going to wake up. It's when are we going to wake up and begin the next evolutionary step forward, because that's what we're responsible for. Okay. And when we evolve to a certain level, we may even evolve beyond this world. We'll certainly evolve to the next level within this world if we have to go through other cycles first. Things could be a particular way, whether we like it or not. Whether we like them apples or not. That's just how it is. Right? So there's something to this. There's something to this. There was an old Coast to Coast episode, I think, with Art Bell. And I think Sarah was her name. And she was visiting hell. So type in Art Bell archives, maybe 1999. You'll find it on YouTube, right? So Sarah is astro traveling through hell, but she's not quite in it. She's like floating above it. And she's seeing the things that are going on there. Sometimes I wonder if they're trying to get people to do certain things in this world to get them in some type of a hell realm. Anyhow, she finds another door that she tries to go through, and she can't because she doesn't have enough information. And as I think about that 1999 Art Bell discussion available on YouTube makes me think about our world. What if we have the gift of communication, but people are wasting it? What if we're here to really gather information and develop the keys that can help us get through certain doors that have been locked for a long, long time? What if this is our time to access information that's been hidden? Information that people were killed over a long time ago. But now, even though we live in a world of suppression and the release of weapons around the world, the technology, as they're pointed in different directions and released on the third world specifically, practice runs as they perfect these horrendous technologies. People sit back, hey, they got their smartphones. They're not affected today. They have their video games today. They have their movies today. They have their popcorn today. They have Facebook today. These drones are delivering packages to them with all different types of adult products within. They're not after them. The drones are their friends. The drones are here to help you. And, just years ago, I'd have almost like this comedy routine in my mind of trying to express to people, hey, folks, it's like one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be the panic button where the chick just goes, with the palm, just hits a little red button and boom, AI sends out a drone and protects her from that bad man. Bad man. I mean, this is the high-tech future of women's safety. But are women more safe in the end if robots take over? And good men are living out in the forests or pushed out of society. In other ways, men and women are turned against each other scientifically. I mean, it's not that we need to have like big families having a bunch of kids. A lot of us don't want that. But do we want to be like turned into machines where we're ruled over by these cities? These cities themselves are like entities that suck the energy of the humans. It's like, we saw this blackout in New York City. Oh, we're on a rant, but it's not too out of control. It's within reason. As we see literally the possibility that the billboards that were on mysteriously as New York is going through a blackout or part of it, they gather in Times Square. And it's like the billboards are being powered by the hive mind of the humans. And we know that humans are powerful enough that they can probably power up those billboards. But on one level, there is something creepy to that. Yes, they came together and they have their candles and, it looks like an Om moment on one level. On another, look at the animals coming together, the humans coming together as a herd before the bright lights, the lights of Broadway. the billboard, lights, and digital display. And so we are in a petri dish. And I don't claim to know everything about this reality, but I'm not the only one that has come to the conclusion that we're in some kind of a simulation or a test. And I think that it's best we come to terms with that and not waste time while we're here. Souls occupying human vessels. Why are we here? What are we doing here? Why have we been on the path for so long, whatever the path may be? I know that I have my own specific story. My own autobiography goes in a specific direction, but it's the story of a true speaker and the different adventures, challenges, triumphs, ups and downs, the many, many tests, and it continues. And it continues. And perhaps for maybe even more than one experience here on Earth. I think that it's an overstatement to say that we know for sure that that's not the case. And many people do that here. The greater reality is there's a deeper connection I think that we have with other forms of life that are operating within this universe. It's beyond our comprehension. It's beyond the human brains that we have installed within us, our current software, to truly understand our interconnectedness. Just on a side note, I've never even felt even really close specifically to cats until I adopted one 1 year ago. So it's 1 year anniversary. I don't have any or birthday. I don't have any sound effects or music to play at this time. But this is a moment that I have been waiting for many, many months. So I'm glad the cat's still here. There is a reality of living in rural America, and for a while I need to keep the cat inside to keep it away from potential threats and going over to the neighbors. And I have noticed a consciousness connection, I guess, between my cat and myself, letting the cat know that it really needs to start staying closer. And if it shows me that it's able to do that, it's kind of like a small child, that I will let it out a little bit more. And there's a little bit more trust to the point where I can leave it out for a few hours now, leave, go to town, and do some other things, come back, and the cat's fine. So I feel like, the cat is evolving consciously, and during certain periods around certain phases of the moon, the cat seems more conscious, that there's a deeper connection, that when it's looking at me and I'm looking into its eyes, that there's more intent to that. There seems to be more emotion. And one of the things that I think about, I wonder about deceased relatives. I wonder how my grandmother is doing. I wonder if that's just my imagination or if I am picking up on Ruth. So some other things that I've been thinking about, but this is not uncommon. And you may also have felt similar things and thought about things your entire life. What was the meaning of things? And where are you to refine things now and move forward from here in the coming months? So we can look at world events that for whatever reason are there. Some of them are going to be naturally occurring. Some of them may be manufactured to throw us off the path, if that makes sense. And some things clearly could be perceived as my opinion or someone else's opinion, whether it's a real event or manufactured. Then you also have to think, is that really important? A perception of whether or not it's one thing or the other. What is important is that you notice the correlation, that certain things do happen regardless of whatever their actual cause. And there's a lot of things worthy of speculating about. They've also made that very, very, very unpopular. I mean, I don't just mean on YouTube. I think that they have made it really unpopular through mind control within everyday conversation to suspect certain things. Okay. So there's certain things that people are going to say, oh, this is what it means to be awake. It's line 1. It's line 2. It's line 3. This is awake. This is truther. This is they live. What the glasses. This is the meme. This is the meme. And then you look at the meme being being a mask for a goblin. So I can speak in code, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. And some of you do as well when we talk about the co-opting of the real truth movement. I will say that in these days and age is, for good reason, based on history, good people have gone into hiding. There are good people out there, and they are in the audience, right? But one thing that I've noticed in recent years, truly good people have gone into hiding, maybe to protect themselves. Don't want to come up on the radar. Don't want to show yourself. Everybody, be real quiet. Those of you that are the good people, right? Be real quiet as we take in information and just watch in the deep soar minimum. As the cosmic rays come in, as we look to the left, as we look to the right, as we see massive earthquakes in Southern California, as we see a power outage in New York City, as we see Yellowstone swarming, right? We see other aspects of just swinging like a pendulum, just like, which way is this knife going to drop? This is some crazy shit. There's a knife swinging. Holy damn. So stop me now before this turns into a Dennis Leary no cure for cancer bit. But I'll tell you what, yes, we are at the dawn of the release of 5G, and have they released it already? What the heck is going on? I have to look and see, like, where's the spread of the virus going to come out of Denver and Colorado? And at what point are we going to be reading news headlines about people attacking Amazon drones, delivering dildos all throughout American cities? And I don't want to get too detailed or graphic, but I mean, these are genuine concerns. But may you and your loved ones have a happy, merry eclipse, partial lunar eclipse 2019. I'm Alex Ansary signing off.